In today's video, I'll be answering the question, what is a good GAMSAT score? Now, this video talks about Australian postgraduate applications, but you can use the same concepts if you're applying in the UK. Alright, first up, we need to talk about the number of places available each year. Over here, I have a list of places available based on GAMSAT's application guide
for 2019, and what this means is that everyone sitting for the GAMSAT will be vying for one of these places.
Next, we want to compare the number of applicants vying for these places, and that's roughly the number of people sitting the GAMSAT each year. This chart is taken from an academic study on the GAMSAT, and I'll post a link in the description below. An interesting thing about this study is that it discusses why the number of test takers increase every year, and one of the reasons is the increasing number of resit test takers. Because the rate of increase seems steady, I'm just plugging in the figures from the study to estimate how many applicants there'll be in 2020, and it seems to me that there'll be around 13,000. So now we can compare the number of places against the number of applicants, and it works out to be around 10% of the cohort actually getting a place. However, it's not the best 10% of test takers getting a place, rather it's the best 20% of test takers receiving interview offers for a place. We can also see how competitive it is to apply for medicine. So to figure out what a good GAMSAT score or GPA is, we need to talk about the combo score. So I have a list of data here of people who managed to get a place in medicine in 2018 for a 2019 spot. And this data can be downloaded from the Paging Doctors forum. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to calculate my own combo score and try and compare it against this list of data I have here. So my GPA is 6.66 out of 7. My GAMSAT score is 67 out of 100. And then if you add those two up, you get your combo score. The question you might ask then is, how does my combo score stack up against, people who actually managed to get into medicine? And that's what we're going to go through now. Let's assume that this data set is a sample of the population of the medical students getting into medicine. What we do is we take an average of all the combo scores. All right, so that's the average score. And we can actually make this into something more meaningful. So we can find out, let's say this is a bell curve, and we want to find out the standard deviation. And we want the standard deviation of everyone here. All right, so that's the standard deviation. And basically, we know, if you've done your math, that two standard deviations roughly cover the range for the highest and lowest GAMSAT scores of people who got in. Okay, so I've done up the calculations for the standard deviations, and what this data represents looks something like that. And basically we have the mean right there in the middle. We have one standard deviation, two standard deviations. Now we can compare our calculated combo score against the sample with a nifty formula. And I'm basically the 25th percentile. And what that means is I'm away from the mean, and I would probably have to depend more on my interview to get a spot in medicine. I think if you can get these kind of scores here, I think you have a pretty good chance of landing an interview offer and even a place offer if you do really well in the interviews. So you want to get a score of between, say, a combo score of 1.6 to 1.65. I think that will be a good target for you if it's the first time that you're sitting for the GAMSAT. So we'll just go through a few examples of, let's say you know your GPA. What kind of GAMSAT score would you want to target? Um, so we can use the above example as the mean. A good score would be around 1.6. So let's say Bob did really well for his GPA. Maybe he even has a PhD. He would have a GPA score of 7 out of 7, which is basically 1. Like he would only need to get a 60 on his GAMSAT in order to have a competitive combo score. Marley, on the other hand, let's say Marley did really poorly on his well, not too poorly, but pretty average on his GPA. Let's say he got a 6. Let's say he got a 6 out of 7. You know, that puts him a bit lower than Bob. Like, what kind of GAMSAT score would he need to have that nice competitive combo score? He would probably have to get about 74 on his GAMSAT. So what makes a good GAMSAT score? Well, the answer is that it depends. It depends on what GPA you have, uh, and the GAMSAT score that you require to have a competitive combo score for applications to the universities. These calculations are basically for schools without a portfolio component attached to it. If you look into the schools and the combo scores for schools with portfolios included in them, there tends to be a lower combo score, and because the portfolios give more weight to life experiences and work experiences and other qualities that the University of Wollongong and the University of Notre Dame want to see in their student body. I hope you found this video informative, and if you'd like to see more videos, make sure you hit the like button below and share this video with someone you know who's starting the journey to become a medical student. Please comment below with anything you'd like me to go through in future videos, and make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell, which will notify you when new content gets posted.